So I didn't have much of a start this morning to my shift. Right off the bat, I cut 9 trees and blew a hose. Now the hose that I blew was this one. So you can see inside, if you look real close, and maybe I'll turn away from the sun. You can see inside this, for anybody who's not familiar with hydraulic hoses, there is wiring in there, and these are called 4-wire hoses. So basically there's 4 layers of wire in there to hold the hydraulic oil pressure inside the hose. Now, they come in fittings and all that. So what happened is this just basically let go over time. So I carry these short little ones, and with the short little ones, these are 2 feet hoses, you know, they're just pigtail hoses, I call them, because instead of replacing a whole lot more, so let's say like 8 or 10 feet of hose, I can just replace the 2 feet that would typically chafe or wear or anything like that. So every time I have to replace something, I'd replace 2 feet of hose, and I don't have to, you know, it's a big cost if you're going to run 8 or 10 feet of hose. And I can carry this a whole lot easier than I can wrap a big 8 or 10 foot hose on. Now, my problem was I carry the small one all the time. I always have this one with me. And you see this one, it's got a female end and a female end. Well, the one I blew, for some reason, wasn't set up that way. And I always put this scenario in it so I carry this hose. I had this hose. I was ready to go. I thought I blew it, ready to go. But instead, this one. So this one is the pigtail that blew. See? And it had a male fitting on the other end. So it put me in a pinch. So now I set it up so that I actually put an adapter on the other part of the machine where I can put a male to male and use this on there. So now this one hose will actually work in many scenarios. So probably 3 or 4 different hoses on the boom over there, I can change this one hose and repair it and get right back to work. If I have that hose with me and it's only one I need to carry, it's a 20-minute fix. Now let me show you where it is. Now this is exactly why I would do it. So we're at the head. So you can see all these hoses all up and along here. So right from here, all the way up and around there, it's 6 feet up to that first connector right there. So if I have to replace 6 feet, plus that has what's called a 4-bolt flange. If I have to replace that and then come all the way down and all the way up into here, actually, sorry, that's 8 feet, then that's going to get fairly costly. Plus, the 4-bolt flanges are a little bit more expensive. And it's not easy to climb up there all the time because you have to either lay the boom down. But my scenario today was when I cut my tree, I had the tree out about 16 feet ready to drop my first log, and the hose blew, which was my pressure line. And because it was my pressure line, I can't do anything. So inside those hoses, for anybody that's not familiar with the way this hydraulic system works, there's 4,000 PSI hydraulic oil running through these hoses. So all of these hoses, every one of them that you see through it, I'm pretty sure it's around 4,000 PSI. There's different settings for different, you know, my feed rollers and stuff like that all have different settings. But these ones here, so this one that's 1 inch, that one that's 1 inch, so it's like a pressure and return. So one puts oil to the head, the other one takes it away. So it's just a big cycle. So when I blew this hose right here, it blew right up in there. And that's where that big blowout was. So instead of going all the way up and going clear up there, because the tree was still stuck in my head, the boom was way up in the air. I can't climb up there to get it. And I was way down in the woods. So luckily, I had this. I just take this hose wrap off, and you can see right in here, that's where my short end of the pigtail is. So 2 feet there. I changed it. I did have to go to the shop because I didn't have one, because I needed that other end. And I even checked with the other machine. I didn't have an adapter there either. But I got an adapter. Now I have a spare hose, because a good way to do things that I find around it is if I blow a hose, then I make the hose that I need to replace it and then make a second one so I have it in the machine, because you know it's going to blow eventually again. And that kind of builds your inventory, your stock up on your hoses if you keep them in your half ton or in the machine or whatever. I always do that. So not only did I fix it and replace the hose, I have a second one for an extra spare. In this case, all I needed was an adapter to make this work. So I got the adapter, made up a spare hose, and away I went. Now these hoses, some of these hoses are a little more expensive. They're bigger. They're 4-wire, we call them. Some of the smaller ones over here are 2-wire. We have 6-wire. And what that is that layer of metal in there that holds the pressure together. So 2-wire would be 2 layers, 4-wire would be 4 layers, 6-wire would be 6 layers, and so on. You get the point. But anyway, the pressure would run from way back at the back of the machine. The pumps are back there and the hydraulic tanks is back there. So there'd be hoses that will run all the way across, up and through here. Then they go in underneath the boom there and go up the boom, and those hoses feed all the way down to the head here. So all of these hoses, the oil's coming from way back there. Along the way, we're eventually going to chafe hoses, we're going to blow hoses, we're going to do that. Now, we try not to make much of a mess. We try to clean them up. When they blow, but in my scenario today, it made a pretty good mess. Now, up there, the cab is very shiny now. It got a fresh wash and a wax. But up there, it got wet. The window, the windshield here and the side windows got wet. I had the head in close to the head, close to the tire here, to get ready to cut my first tree off, or my first product. And when it blew, it basically got wet all up in there, and you can still see, if you see it shining a little bit there, and all over my windshield and everything. Now it comes out in a really fine mist and just kind of comes in your direction if that's the side that blows. So I want to get the oil cleaned up. The mist that's on the ground, we have spill pads, and those spill pads are cool because they don't soak up water. They just soak up oil, and you can also use them just like a rag to wipe them off. So we put the spill pads down. We try to gather up anything that's a good mess. If there's a puddle of oil or anything, we shovel that, put it in a pail, and we let our supervisor know. He takes it and discards of it. We don't leave the messes in the woods. And I know there's some guys that'll just pull a hose and they'll walk and there's oil just everywhere. Try not to do that. We have regulations against that, and we don't want to see oil everywhere. It's we're not trying to do that. But the one thing I will say is something that I ran into, and I don't know how many people know this, but hydraulic oil can do some damage. These windows that are up there, if they get hydraulic oil on them, then actually the hydraulic oil can actually work and deteriorate and damage the windows. So you don't want to leave any on there. There's windshield wipers up there, they're rubber. The hydraulic oil will also deteriorate your windshield wipers. So if you do make a mess, try to get that all cleaned up and get your windshield wipers clean, get your windows cleaned. I know you need your windows cleaned anyway because you can't see without them, but it will deteriorate that stuff. Clean them off, try not to let it sit too long, and get a good window cleaner, stuff like that. The stuff that's on, like you can see a little mist here, it's kind of shiny. That stuff's just a fine mist, but it'll get covered in dust and all that, and then we'll spray it all off at the shop later in the spring. Whenever the snow will come onto it, eventually it'll just all clean off and wear off. But the big thing is not to leave a mess in the woods, or not to leave a mess out where you're gonna get in a racket, because it'll see that all over the road and stuff, that makes an awful mess. We don't do that. So the only other scenario that I would have to do is put oil in it, and this has a specific hose. Just stick the hose in the bucket. It's got a pump that's built into the back of the machine, and away it'll go. The one thing that this machine does have a vacuum pump. So if that hose out there blows and there's oil coming out of it, I can stop it, hit the vacuum pump, and it'll actually pull the oil back and keep it from pouring out all over the place. Where the bust is, it'll just hold the pressure. It won't let oil out of it. And that works very well. So I know you guys probably, if you've never run hydraulics or anything like that, but excavators, backhoes, dozers, forestry equipment, they all run off hydraulic power, and it's always something you're going to run into. So that's just a few tips. That's something we run into all the time, And I just thought I'd share that because I know it doesn't happen too often, but as the cold weather gets here, it's always going to start blowing hoses. If you've got a weak spot, the cold weather will definitely find it. So hopefully, you know, that helps for any of you guys that are starting out. And if not, you got any questions, fire them in the comment section. Like it. If you like the video, share it. And if you got somebody else that could use this or that I might be of some assistance to, share it with them and get them following me as well. And we'll help everybody out.